to release the findings of our independent review into the fatal officer-involved shooting of Michael Broyles on August 27, 2025, just north of Council Bluffs. During that incident at 6:02 p.m., 5 different law enforcement officers fired their weapons at Michael Broyles during a standoff underneath an overpass just to the north of Council Bluffs on I-29. The officers who discharged their weapons were as follows: Iowa State Patrol Trooper Dylan Malone, Pottawatomie County Sheriff Sergeant Eric Shea, Pottawatomie County Sheriff Sergeant Doug Kelsey, Council Bluffs Police Officer Nathan Class, Council Bluffs Police Officer Colton Thompson. Broyles was struck 2 times, once in the right forearm and once in the right shoulder. The shot to the right shoulder was the fatal round. It was confirmed by ballistics testing to have been fired by Iowa State Patrol Trooper Malone. As with all officer-involved shootings in Pottawatomie County, this matter was referred for an independent investigation by the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. That agency then submitted its information to my office for a determination of whether or not criminal charges would be appropriate against any of these officers. I personally reviewed approximately 1,000 crime scene photos, over 20 videos. Those videos involved cruiser cams, body cams, surveillance video, helicopter video from Able 1 with Omaha Police Department, and other surveillance video, as well as drone footage. My office listened to the taped interviews of the officers that were involved in this incident, and I reviewed many pages of police and crime scene reports. My review of the officers' actions indicates that they were fully justified in the use of deadly force, and I will be filing no charges against them. A summary of the events leading up to this shooting is as follows. Iowa State Patrol Trooper Zach Jensen was on routine patrol on August 27th. He was actually up in Harrison County at the Missouri Valley interchange, which is exit 75. As he was entering southbound I-29, he observed a newer model Volkswagen Beetle towing a small flatbed trailer. As that car was, as he's entering the on-ramp and that vehicle goes past, it appeared to him that the driver was not wearing a seatbelt. He got into the left lane, the fast lane. He accelerated up to get close enough to confirm that the driver was indeed not wearing a seatbelt. He then tucked in behind the vehicle in the right lane, and he activated his emergency lights. This took place at 5:33 p.m. The Volkswagen showed no reaction to him being behind him with his emergency lights on for about 25 seconds, at which point it pulled over onto the shoulder but did not decelerate. And it continued to drive for approximately 3 miles without slowing down, just driving at normal traffic speed on the shoulder. At this point, Trooper Jensen has activated his siren, and at 5:37 p.m., the vehicles traveled across the county line into Pottawatomie County. At 5:38 p.m., the Volkswagen took the Loveland exit, that's exit 72, on southbound Interstate 29. At the bottom of the exit ramp, Broyles stopped at the very bottom, sort of canted his vehicle off toward the right so that his driver's door would not be visible to Trooper Jensen. He then actually placed the car in reverse and reversed the trailer back toward the trooper's cruiser for a few feet, forcing Trooper Jensen to also reverse. We're now at 5:38 p.m. Broyles immediately got out of his car and aimed a double-barrel 12-gauge shotgun directly at Trooper Jensen. I'm going to have that video for you here in a moment. Jensen saw what was happening, and so as Broyles was exiting his vehicle, Trooper Jensen took cover behind his cruiser, gave multiple verbal commands for Broyles to drop the weapon. He repeated this order 7 times for him to drop the weapon. In my opinion, Jensen would have been authorized to use deadly force during that encounter himself. Nevertheless, after a tense 35 seconds, Broyles puts the shotgun into the air, climbs back into his vehicle, executes a U-turn, and gets back onto Interstate 29 heading south. Trooper Jensen begins his pursuit, and he radios in that the driver has a double-barrel shotgun on his lap. Many other officers in the area ultimately participate in this pursuit. Harrison County deputies, Iowa State Patrol troopers, Pottawatomie County deputies, Council Bluffs police officers, even the Able 1 helicopter from Omaha Police Department were all involved in this pursuit at various times. Shortly into the pursuit, Iowa State Patrol Trooper Paul Hudson took over as the lead pursuit vehicle. Trooper Jensen was driving in an unmarked Dodge Charger. Iowa State Patrol policy is that a marked cruiser takes the lead in all pursuits as soon as they're able to. Trooper Hudson was driving one of those marked cruisers, and so he tucked in and took the lead position for the most of the pursuit at this point. Multiple officers along the route south attempted to deploy stop sticks. For those of you who don't know, stop sticks are basically, they're a spiked implement that can be thrown across a lane of traffic, and when a vehicle goes across them, it will deflate their tires. They're usually on a cord, which then the officer can kind of pull into the lane. There were several unsuccessful stop stick deployments that were attempted on this route. Eventually, as they got just north of Council Bluffs, before sort of the exit to go onto North 16th Street, Pottawatomie County Deputy Sergeant Doug Kelsey was in position. He successfully deployed stop sticks that deflated multiple tires on both the vehicle and the trailer. The car was still able to drive, but obviously it's going to be losing speed as its tires are beginning to deflate. As they approach that choice between continuing I-29 or taking that exit, Broyles makes the decision that he is going to take that exit, and he actually passes under the overpass of where North 29 is crossing over North 16th Street, and he comes to a stop at the very very end of that overpass, right next to a concrete pillar. Broyles immediately exits his car. He has his shotgun in his hands. It's not aimed, but it's sort of vaguely pointing at officers that are behind him. He immediately heads to cover between the concrete pillar and a concrete barrier. And I'm going to have video and photos of this for you to see, but there's something they call a Jersey barrier, but it's basically a concrete barrier that goes along the side of the road. Then we have the concrete pillar as well. So he was in a pretty hardened position where he had concrete protecting him from one side low, as well as the pillar which he had tucked behind. 3 Iowa State Patrol vehicles were basically first in line. Trooper Hudson, since he was leading the pursuit, stops behind Broyles on the shoulder. Trooper Jensen, the officer that had been involved with the original traffic stop, he stopped in the right lane. Trooper Dylan Malone stopped in the left lane. So these are the 3 cruisers then that are sort of lined up across the exit or the interstate at this point, all facing roughly toward that pillar. Pottawatomie County Sergeant Shea was actually a little bit ahead of Malone, but it pulled in directly behind Trooper Hudson on the right. And shortly after this, Council Bluffs Police Officer Colton Thompson, he was actually a passenger that day. He was helping train a new officer. He was on field training officer duty. So he's mostly in sort of plain clothes, and you'll see that as he's wearing his bulletproof vest. But he arrives and heads into the fray. Less than a minute later, Sergeant Kelsey, he has now retrieved his stop sticks from the side of the road, has whipped a U-turn, gone on the interstate, and he catches up as well. All responding officers at this point have deployed their rifles, which are all based on what is commonly known as the AR-15 platform. In pretty short order, Council Bluffs Police Officer Nathan Class also arrives on the scene. Class was actually parked on the north side of I-29, and he walked across. It was a pretty marshy median, but he walked across, and he was armed with his service weapon, which is a handgun. I believe it's a SIG. Numerous other officers responded to the scene. I'm not going to name them all because the ones that I've just talked about are sort of the main players in the incident as it goes forward. Trooper Hudson, as the lead pursuit officer, essentially took control of the scene. He was giving commands to Broyles. It should be noted, nobody knew who this gentleman was at this point. It took some time to get him identified after this incident, but Michael Broyles was the driver. Hudson continues to give commands for Broyles to drop the weapon. He's cautioning all officers that are around to watch for crossfire, and as you're going to see from the videos and photos coming up, that the officers are in pretty close proximity to each other when they're all sort of in a small pie area facing the same direction. Worries about a blue-on-blue shot are very concerning for the officers. Hudson tells Broyles to put down the weapon no less than 26 times. He commands him to show his hands on 7 occasions. He specifically tells Broyles he's under arrest, and he also tells him that he will be shot if that gun points their way. As Trooper Hudson's trying to communicate with Broyles, the other officers are taking up positions. If you consider the placement in sort of an arc facing the pillar behind which Broyles is hiding, on the far left would be Trooper Malone. So where his cruiser was parked in the sort of, I guess you'd call it the fast lane where it's parked, he takes a position behind his open door. This is what they call the A pillar of your vehicle. And so he's in a cover position facing, and so he'd be the leftmost part of that arc. Sergeant Shea, that had arrived and was parked behind Hudson, takes up a position behind the final pillar. There's 3 pillars in this overpass. So Broyles is hidden behind pillar 1, then you've got the middle pillar. Shea takes up a position behind pillar 3, and so he would be what I would say is marking the right far side of that arc. So those are the 2 that have sort of set the edges, to use a football term, right? They've sort of set the edges at this point. The other officers that are rounding it then are then taking sort of less advantageous positions. Colton Thompson took a position behind Trooper Jensen's cruiser, so I'd call him left central portion of that arc. Sergeant Kelsey, as he's arrived, and Officer Class, they've taken a position sort of just to the right of Hudson's and behind Hudson's cruiser, so they're sort of in the right central portion of that arc, and so these are sort of the players that we have in this incident at this point. At this point, then, basically, because of the location where Broyles is at behind this pillar, if he leans to one direction, then he can be seen by Trooper Malone. If he leans to the other direction, he can be seen by Sergeant Shea. If he sort of stays right in the middle, only a sliver of him is available, is visible to either officer. And so you will see from this video, and it's tough because the angles aren't great, but you will see him, he'll pop out one side of the pillar, he'll pop out the other side of the pillar. Most of the time, he's pretty well tucked right in the center of that pillar where no officer really had a good shot, because he was only really exposing a sliver of himself. Iowa State Patrol Sergeant Leffler had also arrived on the scene after about 4 minutes of Trooper Hudson trying to talk Broyles out from behind that pillar. He directed Trooper Jensen to retrieve his pepperball launcher. Pepperball launcher, it basically looks like a paintball gun. We're going to show you that, but it shoots little thin plastic shells that are full of capsaicin, which is really a synthetic derivative of chili peppers, right? So it's basically, as somebody would have pepper spray, this is sort of a pepper powder, and so and he was directed to come in. That's another non-lethal way of trying to gain compliance from a suspect. We have Sergeant Shea is now giving commands as well. He says, drop it at least 5 times. He tells Broyles, I don't want to shoot you. Finally, at 6 p.m. with 35 seconds, Trooper Jensen fires a pepper ball toward Broyles. This strikes the middle pillar. He corrects his aim to the right, fires a couple more pepper balls, which successfully land near Broyles' feet. The point of a pepper ball, obviously, right, is that it explodes and it causes problems with, with teary eyes and coughing, etc. So hopefully a person will just will give up. Unfortunately for the officers on the scene, the wind was slightly from the south at this point, and so you're going to hear quite a bit of coughing from the officers as those pepper balls, that powder sort of drifted back onto the scene where all the officers are at. Wasn't debilitating for the officers at all, but just you'll understand why why you're hearing a lot of coughing on the videos. Again, Shea yells again, come out with your hands up, man. We don't want to do this. Broyles does not respond, and at 6:01 p.m. with 25 seconds, Jensen sends another couple of pepper balls in Broyles' direction. And at this point, we can see on the video that Broyles moves toward Malone's side of the arc and raises the shotgun toward Trooper Malone. When I first reviewed this video, I believed that he shot at Trooper Malone at that time, but I believe that the puff that I see is actually Trooper Malone, his round hitting the pillar and sort of sparking off some concrete dust at that time. Broyles tucks back into position, and Trooper Malone says, blue shots away. Blue is commonly for a law enforcement officer. He was basically just informing everyone that he had fired his weapon. All the officers that fired in this case that had rifles, so this would be Malone, Kelsey, and Shea, were shooting with suppressed rifles, so they have a much lower, there's a much smaller audible sound when they fire. Nathan Class with his handgun was obviously, that's not suppressed, and Council Bluffs police officer Colton Thompson, his rifle was also not suppressed, so when it goes off, it's quite a bit louder than the other rounds. Okay, at this point, now, we're in sort of the last 30 seconds of this encounter. At 6:02:06, we can see Broyles' gun is visible on the other side of the pillar. This would be Shea's side of the pillar. Officer Thompson fires a round. Sergeant Shea fires a round from his rifle, unknown. Officer Thompson's round did not strike Broyles, unknown at this point whether this particular round of Sergeant Shea's struck Broyles. We're not able to determine with certainty what round struck him in the arm, but it's possible it was Sergeant Shea at this point. Broyles then displays his gun around Shea's pillar at least twice more at 6:02 p.m. with 14 seconds, and again at 6:02:16. Sergeant Shea fires 2 more rounds from his rifle. At this point, Sergeant Kelsey fires 2 rounds from his rifle, and Council Bluffs Police Officer Class fires 3 rounds from his handgun. While this is going on at 6:02:14, so we're back to Malone, while he's displaying his gun towards Shea, Iowa State Patrol Trooper Malone calls out, "I got his shoulder." It was not saying I shot his shoulder, he said I got his shoulder, meaning he had a clear clear vision of his shoulder at that side. At that point, about 2 seconds later, Trooper Malone fires the shot. This is ultimately the round which kills Michael Broyles. It struck him in the right shoulder. It traveled through his right lung, through his spine, through his left lung, came to rest in his left latissimus dorsi muscle. Another officer tells Malone, "You hit him." Malone confirms that second one was a hit. Able 1 had been providing air support throughout this incident. Unfortunately, because just sort of the chaos on the scene, nobody actually ever called out onto the radio that Broyles had exited his vehicle. And so Omaha police helicopters hovering above trying to get a good vision on the car and never got themselves into a position to actually see Broyles hidden behind the pillar. They were ultimately able to get help show him once he'd been shot, but obviously it would have been better if everyone would have been able to see what Broyles was up to before that moment. About 3 minutes after the last shot is fired, Pottawatomie County Deputy Sheriff Eric Hempel, he's a drone operator. He was able to get a drone into position. It's confirmed that Broyles was down, that his gun was a couple of feet away. At that point, officers moved in, they tossed the shotgun to the side, and they made it safe by unloading it. All of these things are things I was able to confirm with my own eyes from watching the videos during this incident. Officers moved Broyles to the roadway and began CPR compressions. He was transported to Mercy Hospital and was pronounced dead at 6:36 p.m. Again, his autopsy took place on August 29th, confirmed that he'd been struck twice, once in the right forearm, which entered about mid-forearm, exited up closer to the elbow, and then the fatal bullet that was shot into his right shoulder. That bullet was recovered. It was taken to the DCI Criminalistics Laboratory, compared against a test-fired bullet from Trooper Malone's rifle, and it confirmed that that bullet had been fired by Trooper Malone. Identification of Mr. Broyles was difficult to start with. He was carrying no identification. He had no wallet. He had no phone. He had false license plates on the vehicle that actually were a trailer, and you'll see the license plate, but they actually come back to a trailer for a boat in Missouri. He had some license plate from Connecticut on the floorboard, the passenger side. He obviously had that next to a screwdriver. He obviously had those on the vehicle at some point as well. He had a large tattoo of Broyles on his lower back, but that was not discovered until autopsy. He was ultimately identified by fingerprints, which had been taken at the hospital after he was pronounced dead. Interviews with family members of Broyles indicate that he had a history of untreated and undiagnosed mental illness. He had a history of suicidal threats, and he had a history of making threats of deadly force against law enforcement. He'd made statements in the past that he would never go back to jail, that he would make law enforcement kill him before that happened. Nevertheless, he actually had a pretty minor criminal history. He only had 2 criminal convictions that I could find. Those were both from Anchorage, Alaska. He had a drunk driving offense from 2007 and a misdemeanor assault from 2019. His family either did not know or would not say, but they stated they did not know where he was living at the time of this incident. They believed it was in the Springfield, Missouri area. The photos, videos, and physical evidence that I reviewed were all consistent with the officer interviews. All the evidence leads to the conclusion that the officers' actions were justified, as they had a reasonable belief that deadly force was to be used against them when the shotgun was raised, pointed, and ultimately fired at them. I should have pointed that out earlier. This is a double-barrel shotgun, and after the incident, it was discovered that one of those rounds had been fired. He had not fired the other, so he fired the shotgun one time. Under Iowa law, all fatal officer-involved shootings also undergo a secondary independent review by the Iowa Attorney General's office. I've been in contact with that office. I sent them my report yesterday afternoon. I received their report, also clearing these officers, was emailed to me at about 6 p.m. last night. I'd like to thank the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation, particularly Special Agent David Hendricks, who led this investigation for them, for the quick and thorough work on this matter. I'd also like to thank the State Patrol, Sheriff's Office, and Police Department for their cooperation. It is never enjoyable when officers find themselves, the subject of these investigations as well. The taking of a life by law enforcement is serious, and it deserves a careful look to ensure that the officers' actions that were involved were legal and appropriate. In this case, it was not a particularly close call. Mr. Broyles pointed his shotgun at multiple officers during this encounter and at Iowa State Patrol Trooper Jensen during the initial traffic stop. Frankly, Trooper Jensen would have been fully justified in shooting Mr. Broyles during that initial stop as soon as Broyles exited with that shotgun and pointed it at him. The officers involved in this incident acted in accordance with the highest standards of professional conduct. They tried very hard to end this matter peaceably. I'd like to commend specifically Pottawatomie County Sheriff Sergeant Kelsey for his successful deployment of stop sticks that brought this pursuit to a close before it could travel into the sort of populated areas of Council Bluffs. And I'd also like to commend the many attempts, although ultimately unsuccessful, by Trooper Paul Hudson to end this encounter without the use of deadly force. He tried many, many times to get Mr. Broyles to simply drop the shotgun and surrender. He was also very conscientious throughout about the close proximity that the officers had to one another, and he was working very hard to communicate about the potential for crossfire and making sure that all the officers were aware of their relative positions. Nearly every question I needed to have answered was answered by the videos, which we're going to now show. That said, none of these videos are perfect. I was very grateful to have some of the videos I was grateful to have so many videos available because really in looking at them as a whole, I was able to piece together the entirety of what occurred. After I've gone over the videos and some of the photos, then I'll be happy to take any questions. All right, so this is Mr. Broyles. And this is the vehicle that he was driving, as you can see, Volkswagen Beetle with a trailer. Apparently he was making his living. Basically, he'd buy items on eBay and then he would sell them at a higher price. He'd driven up to South Dakota where he'd bought, these are apparently for tires for a skid steer, and he bought those up in South Dakota and was traveling south with those at the time of the initial incident. This is a picture of the back of the vehicle before it was searched with a search warrant after the incident. But you can see here, sorry, I don't have a very good pointer, so we're going to use the old-fashioned yardstick. Right, but you can see, these are Missouri plates, but a TRL's trailer. So he actually has trailer license plates on the car, which we then confirmed that they came back to a boat. Inside the vehicle, here you can see the Connecticut license plate with the wrench and the screwdriver. He's got, ultimately I'll show you here, we've got a close-up of that license plate. This is one of the few things, just trying to figure out who is this guy. All they really have was an eBay, sort of receipt indicating the buyer and the seller, and of course they're screen names, they're not real names, so that wasn't particularly helpful. Did sort of explain why we've got skid steer rims and tires sitting in the back of that trailer. He had an envelope with some cash in it. Ultimately, I think it was $1,300 or $1,600, something along those lines. He was very, according to interviews, he was very nervous about being tracked with technology, and so he did not want to use any cards, ATMs. He did not carry a phone because he did not want anyone to know his whereabouts. He was essentially living off-grid. Okay, again, these were the officers that were involved that used deadly force. Again, Iowa State Patrol Trooper Dylan Malone fired 2 rounds. Council Bluffs Police Officer Thompson fired 1 round. Council Bluffs Police Officer Nathan Class fired 3 rounds from his handgun. Eric Shea fired 3 rounds from his rifle, and Doug Kelsey fired 2 rounds from his rifle. This started up here. This is Missouri Valley, so this would be exit 75. This is where the initial stop is attempted, where Trooper Jensen observes the seatbelt violation. This is the Loveland exit at exit 72. This little dotted line right here is the Pottawatomie County line to the south and Harrison County to the north. So this just sort of gives you a little picture of where this stop, where the initial traffic stop happened and why we're talking about it in Potawatomi County. All right, this is the initial cruiser cam for the initial traffic stop. This is Trooper Jensen. All right, and you can see with the different agencies have different platforms that they use for their body cams and their cruiser cams. The state patrols are helpfully have a date and time signature on them. But you'll notice that, and you probably may have heard just a very slight rumble there toward the end when the officer's emergency lights are activated. That actually also starts the audio on his video as well. So you can tell as he's pulled up to the side, his lights are not going, and then as he tucks in behind him, and you start to hear a little of that rumble, that's indicating that he has initiated that traffic stop. All right. They then proceed, and this will be the end of that initial traffic stop. He'll be the body cam for Trooper Jensen during that portion.
Just stay in your car. Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Put your weapon down. Put the weapon down. I just want to talk to you. Put the weapon down. I want to talk to you. Storm Lake 373, give me a channel. Give me assistance. One at gunpoint. Put it down. Put it down. Let me talk to you. I want to talk to you about a traffic stop. You're not under arrest. I just want to talk to you. No, you're not. Stay there, sir. Storm Lake 373, it's going to be 1080. He's leaving. He does have a double barrel shotgun in his lap.
When he says 1080, that's code for there will be a pursuit in progress. All right, then I just wanted to, I threw up a screenshot so you can tell because it's not, it wasn't super easy, but this is off of Trooper Jensen's body cam as he's exiting his vehicle before he gets into cover. But you can see that Mr. Broyles clearly has his shotgun pointed directly at the trooper during this traffic stop. Okay, so now this pursuit is going to continue south. As this, this starts really in Loveland and it continues down until we ultimately end up here, really getting into the Council Bluffs. Finally, exiting, coming underneath the north overpass. So this is going to be the location where we see the rest of this incident unfold. So this will be Trooper Hudson. He's been leading the pursuit. Sergeant Shea was then coming in. You can see Mr. Broyles peeking around the side of that pillar. He has not realized that Sergeant Shea has gotten into position on the right yet. And just so you sort of understand that we've got Trooper Hudson, we've got Trooper Jensen. You can just see the very front tip. That'd be Trooper Malone's cruiser. And obviously we're looking at this from Sergeant Shea's cruiser. Okay, then Trooper Malone as he progresses. So a couple of screenshots that I captured from Trooper Hudson's cruiser video. As you can see, he's clearly armed with the shotgun. And I just wanted to, this is a crime scene photo that was taken so that you can understand the position where he was in taking cover. So he had basically a complete hardened cover on the side down low, and then that's the hill. This is actually a Council Bluffs police shield. This was taken after the incident. They discarded a shield after they were taking him away, and they just left the shield there. But that's the location where Mr. Broyles was tucked in. Okay, I bring up the next few of these just to show you. I know the public is generally very anxious to see body cam footage, right? And that can frequently be helpful. But this was pretty much my view for the trooper that showed that fired the fatal shot. This is pretty much my view of the entire 7 minutes of the incident, right? His body cam's on his chest. He's over the top. You can see the clip from his rifle is right here. He's over the top. Sometimes the officer that's actually involved in the incident is not very helpful for their view because the body cam, just where it's placed, does not allow you to see really any of the operative facts. Similarly, that's the view that we have for most of Sergeant Shea's at times. He's posted up on the side of the pillar, and we get a nice view of the side of the pillar, right? So that's you can't see where he's seeing. You're only seeing what his camera can see. So it was helpful in this case to have so many supporting officers on the scene because they then allowed me to take a look at what was going on, maybe not from the same eyeballs as the officers involved, but this is just, I believe one of our Council Bluffs police officers' screenshot, but this will be Colton Thompson from the police department. Here's over the back of Trooper Jensen's cruiser. I believe that's actually Sergeant Leffler back there because over here is Sergeant Shea on this pillar. Behind him is Trooper Jensen with the pepperball gun. This would be Sergeant Kelsey, and over here is Council Bluffs Officer Nathan Class, and we've got Trooper Paul Hudson in there as well. And again, this is actually a Harrison County deputy's body cam screenshot, but once again, this is Trooper Malone as he's in position with his cruiser. We have another Council Bluffs officer there. I wish I would have had, if this Harrison deputy would have stayed in this position, I would have had a great angle of this. But as shots start to get fired, the Harrison County deputy ducks, and you'll be able to see that as well. And so, of course, his body cam drops at that moment. All right, so this is going to be the longest clip. This is Trooper Hudson. This is probably, I think, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes long. I wanted to have one sort of mostly continuous so you could see up until the pepper balls start being shot. This is Trooper Hudson as he sort of takes control of the scene initially.
Looks like his tires are going down.
Stop it, stop it, stop it. Hey, no! Shit! Put the weapon down! Put it down now! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down, sir! Put it down! You will be shot! Put the weapon down! Put the weapon down and we can talk! Sure as hell! Put the weapon down! Yes, sir! Put the weapon down! You will be shot if it points this way, you understand? Put it down! Put the weapon down! All the way! Show me your hands! Show me your hands now! Hey, no crossfire! Everyone look out for each other! Put the weapon down! Anybody got eyes? We got eyes? He's still got a gun! Hey! Put it down! Yes! Put the weapon down! We're not messing here! Put it down! That's your only option right now! I can't hear you! Put it down! No? You got eyes there? Okay. You can't see gun? Anybody see gun? No crossfire, everyone be good. Good? Put it down! Hands up! Come out slow! Hands up! Put it down and come out slow! There's no hands! Come on! Put it down! Nobody has to get hurt! Put it down! Put the weapon down! Yeah, good call. What's your name? Speak up! Yell! I can't hear you! Anything, Shay? Okay. Okay. Stay tucked. Yep, stay tucked. I'll go down. You guys can look over the top of the corner. Let's stay to one side. Both of you to my right. Both of you to my right if you can. Hug this B-pillar. He's up behind you. Shay's got his shoulder. He hasn't moved the sides to the right a little bit, but if you got pepper ball, get to where you need to go. I go where Shay is. Pop the bear and go where Shay is. You guys got eyes? Come out! Hands up! Come out slow! Both hands! Put the weapon down! You got one coming up behind you, Shay. Pepper ball.
Okay, and again, this gives you a pretty good eye. So I probably should have mentioned Sergeant Shea is actually one of our local SWAT team commanders. Dylan Malone with the trooper is also on the state tactical team. So honestly, for terms of the two officers that you would want on the edge, we both have pretty highly trained individuals that are in those positions. This is Trooper Jensen that's coming in behind with a pepper ball gun, Officer Class, and then Sergeant Kelsey. Okay, so this is going to be as Trooper Jensen retrieves his pepper ball gun from his cruiser.
Okay, go to bus. Leave my truck here. What's your name? Speak up! Yell! I can't hear you! First post. Bridge post. Anybody have eyes on?
Again, that's just, you can see the pepper ball gun, which I call it, they call it a pepper ball launcher. It essentially looks to me like a paintball gun. And then here is Jensen's body cam about a minute later.
Oh.
Drop it! Drop it! Come on, drop it!
Am I good, Kevin?
I don't want to shoot you!
Okay, back ball. Back ball.
Ball's going out.
Come out! Come out with your hands up!
He's more to the left now, I don't see anything.
I don't see him anymore.
Be careful.
And this is Sergeant Leffler.
Come on with your hands up, man! We don't want to do this! Nobody does! We saw one arm on our side. His elbow, I think he's bent down. We can still see his elbow on our side of the pillar. That's it. I'll be back. Shots fired. Come on out, sir. Hands up, no gun. Hands up! No gun! Watch crossfire, everybody! One more time, just be careful. Hands up! Come out with your hands up, no gun! No gun, hands up! Crossfire! Crossfire! Hands up!
Here's sort of the same, there'll be no audio with this, but this is probably one of our better views of the action as it goes on. This is Sergeant Shea's cruiser. But you can certainly see how tight those angles are for those two officers as well. This is a view from Trooper Malone's cruiser. I'd say pay very particular close attention to just this sort of corner right here, which you'll be able to see Mr. Broyles move. Be about 14 seconds, I think, when we'll tuck out. This is a screenshot from Trooper Hudson, who's directly behind. This is a screenshot from his cruiser cam, but you can clearly see the gun visible pointing toward Trooper Malone right here. This is at 18:01:33. That's when that very first shot is fired. Close up again, that gun barrel poking out. Another screenshot. This is at 18:02:06. Tougher to see. But that right there, that's the gun barrel coming up again on the right side towards Sergeant Shea. It's fuzzy as we come in. Again, you can see there's a gun barrel right there. Again, at 18:02:14, gun barrel again visible off to the side. Another close up. This is about simultaneous with Trooper Malone calling out, I got his shoulder, and then about 2 seconds later he fires. Finally at 2:16, which again is not the clearest, but you can see the gun barrels again sticking out. This is pretty much simultaneously with Trooper Malone firing that fatal shot. Again, another close-up. I had the ability to watch these in slow-mo. It's a little tough to do in this environment, and so I can tell you that if you have the ability later to look through this, you can see at 16:02 and 18 seconds, right in that very corner, you can sort of see Mr. Broyles tilt to the side and go down. That's right after he's been shot. That's the last time really we've seen any movement from him. So this is the body camera for Trooper Malone during these 2 minutes.
What was that?
Pepper balls. Drop the gun! I can't see his hands.
He's still got it.
Gun give up! Police hands away! Drop the gun!
Watch the crossfire, everybody! One more time, let's be careful. Gunfire. He's punching him up.
I got a shoulder. One more out.
Alright?
I'm good.
Watch our movement. Watch our movement.
Someone call out to him.
Anybody got a drone?
Hey, you hit him.
That second one was a hit.
Yep.
Then this is Harrison County Darren Klein. This is his body cam.
Guns get up. Get guns away. Drop the gun.
Watch the crossfire, everybody. One more time. Let's be careful.
What?
Gunfire. He's punching him up.
This is Trooper Jensen's perspective.
Hands up! Look out! Hands up! No gun! No gun! Hands up!
Gunfire. Gunfire.
Hands up!
He's punching him up. I don't got an angle now.
I just like to, I tried my best to keep graphic pictures out, so I don't know if you're live streaming, just want to point out, this isn't particularly gory, but this is a picture as they flew a drone in to confirm the location that Broyles was down and the gun was next to him. I'm not going to show you the whole video, but you can just see as they come in, this is the shotgun right here. It's off to the side as he's been shot and he's fallen off to his toward his right. Okay, so this is Trooper Hudson's cruiser. This is after, once the drone is confirmed that he is down, then this will show the officer's approach, and then you will see them toss the gun up here, and then you'll see another trooper go back and make the gun safe by unloading it. See Trooper Hudson approach the gun and unload it. So this is the weapon then as it was found at the crime scene. Photos. One of those rounds has been fired. One is still a live round. There were also multiple live rounds that were found right next to where Mr. Broyles' body was laying. So he had rounds, I believe, in his pockets. Some that had fallen out. Hat he was wearing. And I really just have this in here so you can see that the stop sticks were effective. We flattened multiple tires, which was able to bring this to a stop. Ultimately, I received the autopsy report here just within the past couple of days. Indicated, again, penetrating gunshot wound in the chest, hit in the upper right shoulder, went through the right lung, through T6 thoracic vertebrae, left lung, and ended up in this left lat muscle. The T-shirt he was wearing, and you can just see him. That's the where the round penetrated in the shoulder. That was the bullet that was retrieved at autopsy. And then the ballistics report came in here, within the past week as well. And this one you can see. So 19 is that's the rifle for Trooper Malone, and 21 is the projectile taken from Mr. Broyles at autopsy, and they compared those microscopically and confirmed that it was Trooper Malone that had fired that. All right, before I take any questions, I'd also like to point out I've shown you about 20 minutes of video. I think as I sent out my notification of press conference, we have nearly 2 hours of video that are not really suitable for just playing at a press conference. But if anybody has any questions, wants access to those, I will let the media have access to those videos so that you can see sort of seeing unredacted body cams of the same thing 7 minutes at a time. It's becomes repetitive for you, but I certainly, in the interest of transparency, want you to understand that we want those to be available. And if you want to review those, if you want to provide an external hard drive and have us just download those to you, I'm happy to do that as well. Now I'll take any questions that you might have. Three, four in that round, five's probably around 10. I mean, I don't have that exact number, but I feel like that's probably pretty close.
The initial traffic stop, he was obviously stopped and obviously came, and it seemed like Broyles wanted to know whether he was under arrest and was told no. How do you evaluate that interaction?
Well, I mean, again, it's tough for me to get into Mr. Broyles' mind. But with his statements that he'd made that he's never going back to jail and he would make law enforcement kill him, I think the question of whether he was under arrest was an important one in his mind. Because if he's under arrest and he knows he's going to jail, he's not going to go to jail. Therefore, this is going to be a fatal ending. I mean, that's how I interpret that. That's why he kept asking that same question at the second stop multiple times, because he wants to know: is there a chance I'm walking out of this situation, or am I going to jail? Because for him, jail was not an option.
I think the first trooper said you're not under arrest,
Right.
but you still should be detained.
Oh,
not
well, and obviously Trooper Jensen's trying to de-escalate that situation. I don't think there's any doubt when you come out of a car and point a gun at a trooper, you are going to jail. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Whether he was under arrest at that moment, he was not free to leave.
The body cam footage shows the shots fired that eventually hit in that second round at 6:02, and then we saw dash cam footage from 6:10 when officers went up to him. Can you just give some clarity into kind of those 8 minutes in between?
Sure. So yeah, it took about 7 minutes, I think, total. It took them a while to get the drone in. And I think that was some of the struggle is, until they could confirm, the reality is we know in hindsight he's been shot, he's incapacitated. At the time, the officers don't know where the gun is, they don't know where he is he playing possum, is he lying there but could still have another weapon, and so they really needed to confirm whether or not he was still a threat. And it was ultimately, it took getting the drone flown in to take a look at that, which I think was about 6:07. So it was about 2 minutes later. And then I remember from, again, and you'll have access to this footage if you want to see it, but I know that there's some conversations about waiting to bring in a dog. And so they had another trooper that was coming on the scene with a dog. So they were sort of, because they were waiting for shields to get involved. I mean, for the officers, this is still, as far as they're concerned, this is still a deadly threat. We now know he was no longer going to be a threat, but they were not going to worry about rendering aid to him until they knew that they were going to be safe. It's a good question. Anything else? Okay, well, like I said, I will make my my footage available if you have a need, but I appreciate you all coming out here today. Thank you.
kind of goes to after, but I don't know if he's.
Give it a shot. Let's get this fired up. It will not have any diagnosis. There's nothing on the PowerPoint, but they showed it to you, so there's nothing on there I care about.